Hey everyone, this is Damon. I am back with Mike Bloxam. Brian was going to join us, and he is having computer issues. And Amada is, she's pretty tired, so it's just going to be us tonight talking about Quantum Leap, Season 1, Episode 13, Family Style. When Ben leaps into an Indian family to try and prevent their beloved family restaurant from burning down, he finds an emotional connection with their matriarch through memories of his own. Magic and Jen share a surprising revelation with Ian. The leap date is 2009, which I really wish that we were getting those specific dates. I can't stand it. I just, that's my OCD that I really wish we were getting.
Yeah, I share that with you. I like the precise date, right? To know what's going on in the world.
Yeah. And he has leaped into a woman again, Kamini Prasad. So, and I'll just also, I like how when he looked in the mirror, he was like, Right? You noticed that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just before we get into it, I wanted to throw the little side observations. I noticed that this is the fourth time Ben has leaped into a woman within one season, right?
Okay. Yeah.
Sam, I think, was like 3 times was his record. Like almost
in one season.
In the final season, yeah. Although does it count that in leap die repeat? Does that leap into the woman now count because the leap reset? We no longer leap.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it still happened.
Yeah, but did it? Yeah, and the only other thing is I haven't seen anybody else mention this. Prasad was the original name of Ben in the pilot.
Oh, right.
Except it had 2 S's.
Good catch.
And I think here it only had 1 S, but I don't know if that's a coincidence or not. Directed by Deborah Pratt. So
yeah.
Your thoughts, Mike? Let's just get into it because I do have some things to say, but
sure. Yeah. I mean, overall, I really enjoyed the episode. It felt it was very heartfelt, I guess, is the way I'd put it. Even though I know very little about Indian culture or running a restaurant, I still really enjoyed the storyline and the connections that we got with the family, with the Leap family. It felt very much like an authentic Quantum Leap episode, where the Leaper is there to do the thing to fix the family's history, to fix the family's future, and I found the surprise twist of they're all happily going back to the restaurant, and then it explodes. I'm like, wait, what? Where's the story going now?
Yeah.
Totally. That was the twist I wasn't expecting. So I like that. I like that they deviated from kind of what you might have expected the story to go with.
Yeah.
The connection of Ben and his mother, and then also experiencing that with in the Leap, kind of reminded me of the times when Sam would have these, not necessarily flashbacks, but feelings about the connection with his father. So they're doing an interesting parallel there, where the Leaper has kind of a traumatic experience with one of their parents, and then they reflect that in a few of the leaps. So I like that touch. Now, as we just mentioned, it was 2009, but which 365 days of the year was it? Not sure, but it was interesting seeing that the computer they were using was running Windows XP, so very timely for 2009. I looked, I was like, oh yeah, that's WinXP.
So you caught that? I didn't catch that.
Yeah. But I felt like the things that were missing to really put it in 2009 was any mention of the global recession. Which was late 2008 and most of 2009. There didn't seem to be any hints or background or talk of it at all. And there was no time period music. We got kind of blessed with it in the previous episode that was set in 2012.
Yeah.
But there wasn't even one song that would have said, "Oh yeah, this is certainly 2009."
Well, it was indie. It was like Indian music. It was from. I looked it up. It was from some. I think it was two of them were from some movie or something. And
okay,
yeah. So I guess it was probably like, I guess whoever, old Deborah maybe was the one who I think wanted some authentic stuff and maybe worked with the writer and made sure like that the songs were kind of authentic or something like that.
No, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But something that the general public might recognize, just thrown it. I mean, it could have happened at one of the scenes offsite for the restaurant, right? It could have been at the pizzeria or whatever.
Yeah.
Just something to place it more. I just felt like, sure, you said it was 2009, but aside from the reference to Groupon, how else do we know it's 2009?
Yeah, well, you mentioned the recession thing. I think it was. I think it was brought up maybe in the. I'm trying to remember if it was because like both of the podcasts, Fate's Wide Wheel and the Quantum Leap podcast, they interviewed Deborah Pratt for this episode. So I don't know if it was during those interviews or maybe they mentioned it in there, but because I listened to them earlier in the week. We're going to get back to the Fate's Wide Wheel podcast in a bit because I actually wanted them on here to kind of talk, and they couldn't make it, but they said go ahead and talk about our little debate. Anyway, somebody brought up about maybe that's kind of why they were going through financial difficulty because they had a recession. But again, they didn't actually tell us this, but they're it seems like they're kind of relying on the audience to fill in the gaps.
Mm-hmm.
And I have kind of noticed that they seem to do that a lot on this show.
Right.
Like that's kind of one of the things that like they do kind of rely on us. They're not always very clear on things like when in with the bounty hunter and the whole Princess Di thing, it's like if we didn't know when that was, we wouldn't have known what date that was.
Right.
So it's just, I guess that bugs me a little bit, but well, and then we'll come back to the Groupon thing because when Amanda and I watched that, we were watching that and I kind of looked over at her like laughing because I've heard her talk about Groupon before and she was rolling her eyes. She's like, oh, Groupon. Because I haven't mentioned it on here, but we have 3 businesses, and one of them is Winter Haven Food Tours, which is her where she walks people around, and this was like right up her alley, and not just with that tour, but with her other stuff, she's used Groupon in the past. So I'm like, it's like, what? I thought that you kind of like this. She's like, well, you have to understand. And I asked her beforehand. She's talking about how they're supposed to do like a 50-50 thing where they take their cut, but it really ends up being more like a 60-40 cut. Right. So she's like, she's saying, if I charge $20 for something, I only see like 7 of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then how much did they have to make in this? Like $30,000?
Yes. Yeah. Out of 200 people, or that, I guess they cut it off at 300 or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And
they each have to spend $100.
Yeah.
But then they're getting half off, so they have to spend $200. Like, yeah, the math didn't work out. You're right.
Yeah. And then like it doesn't take that quickly to set that up on the computer at all. It was like, whoa, like already you got stuff going.
Yeah.
I just thought that was kind of funny.
It was a bit hand waved, I guess, or just
a little convenient.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that could have been a couple days of sales to build up, not a few hours. Yeah.
So you basically said your impressions, and that I did like this episode a lot. You know, because I'm going to have some criticisms about it, but I don't want people to think that I hated it because I did like it. I guess my biggest thing that so here's the thing. I bear with me for a little bit. I like how the way everything was set up. and it was like, okay, this is like a real issues that families have. They're like, they were having this struggling business. They're just trying to make ends meet, and they're basically like drowning in debt. Like this is stuff that we can all relate to, and we're actually like dealing with a lot of this stuff right now. So it was kind of hitting for me a little bit, like okay, and you can imagine something like a fire, like okay, that's like the straw that breaks the camel's back, and just the family's gonna collapse and everything. So I think where my thing comes in was like all of a sudden it's just like this is the story I'm expecting that we're telling, and then like when it rains it pours, which that's the way things are. And then he's in the alley, and all of a sudden the evil landlord comes and gets a goon sticking a gun in a woman's face, and it's like, whoa, you just brought this to another level that I wasn't quite like. Was that a little too much that you threw on in this situation? I don't know. I guess it's because she was supposed to be like this racist. Like she obviously was racist because she was like, oh, Prasad, she was being insulting. And it's like, I want my money. And I'm like, at first I'm like, wait, is this woman Kamini? Is she like in, like, does she go with debt or something? Like, is she gambling? Like, what is this? And then it's like, well, no, this landlord basically is like, basically making it pour on them instead of just life doing it. Like, I felt it would have been stronger if like the fire had just happened by itself and it was like just some accident that happened, and it was just like, no, like the landlord did this to them. Like, she's just this evil bee of a woman that just did this to them. And I'm like, what? I almost felt like that should have been another story in and of itself. I get it, but I feel like it should have just been something separate. I don't know.
Yeah, it didn't add to the story. You're right. Because it seemed like all these, I don't want to call them mishaps, but all these bad things were happening to them.
Yeah, just like everything
just
was
as a course of life. That you're right. It might have been a little bit overboard with the, as you called it, evil landlord.
Mustache twirling villain. That's what she was. And it was like, I know the OG series did that, but like, did you have to do that trope right now? And
yeah.
I just kind of had an issue with that. I'm like, I get it. And I get they were trying to like get into how, like, even with like, they were basically being prejudiced against, and like, who you think the cops are going to believe, you or me? And it's like, oh, I know that's cold, but like, man, like, I just wish it could have been more like something like that. It was actually like a bank debt instead of more like, oh, the landlord is, like, I don't know.
So more of a foreclosure type thing than
because they were already
eviction.
Dealing with like the father, like the patriarch of the family had been dead for past year. Like I get it. And it's like all these things happening, and a mother who wanted to control everything and was so afraid of change. That this change of the menu could have been the real big break they needed, but she was so afraid because they're so on the verge of collapse. So I do get a lot of it. I just that was the one thing I had, that you threw that on top of what was already a lot going on. And then the other thing is Ian at the project. That story that needed to be, I liked Ian's story. I liked with that, because they basically had to deal with that, the huge revelation at the end. Like, you have to do the next episode and follow up with that, because you just can't like keep that. Right. Yeah. So I feel like, was this the right place for this smaller family oriented story when you're throwing this little part of the project story into this that really had to be dealt with? You're already throwing that onto a situation where there's kind of a lot going on. And we've said this in the past about how they're trying to find the right balance between project story and leap story.
Yeah.
So like they seem to be getting better, but I don't know.
I felt like the balance was fine in this episode. Yeah. It's just the leap story was particularly more intensive, I think, than a lot of the past. ones. It's not that they spent more time on it, but it's a bit more of a situation that we need to figure out. Like, why is he leaping sometime in the future? He's already declared, wow, I look old in these sketches. So
and that's another thing, is because I'm kind of, some of the stuff I'm bringing up is this gets into the Fates Why Wheel podcast. They had not really a fight. They had like a very spirited discussion about this, because one co-host, Dennis, is basically saying almost the exact same things that I'm saying. And I was trying to think when we watched it, like, there's something about this that I wanted to like this more. I wanted to connect to it more, but something about it was getting to me. And then I listened to the podcast. He expressed pretty much everything I'm telling you right now.
Okay.
Which is kind of why I wanted to get them on, because I was like, I agree with you, but I also agree with the other co-host was saying. Sam Fain was that he loved the whole family concept behind everything, and the fact that even the whole what Ian was dealing with, because this was a family unit in the project, because they're trying to parallel, the story that's going on in the loop. And so it's like, I get it. They all feel like a family. They don't want to include somebody like Janice in the mix because they don't feel like Janice is family. But I feel like you've got this situation going on. Like, maybe you should be talking to somebody who knows more about what's going on. Even though I don't think she's at the project anymore. I think they actually took her away. I don't know. They didn't tell us where she is.
No. Yeah. They left us hanging on that. You're right.
Still being detained, drinking whiskey or whatever she was. I don't know. I mean, we didn't need her for the story. I'm just wondering if Dennis in podcast kind of said the same thing. It feels sometimes like they should be smarter at the project, because it's like, did you leap, Ian? You really think that Ian leaped? Like, doesn't it seem obvious at this point that it's them from the future?
Yeah. I know. I caught that too, and it annoyed me. I'll agree. Like, of course not. Ben was the first one to leap in this new project, so how would he? They, I guess. Yeah. Ian's pronouns are they, them. Yeah. Like, how would Ian have leaped before Ben did?
Right.
And even if Ian had leaped before Ben, someone would know.
I know.
Yeah. That's.
It just seemed like now, like, they're not. They seem like they're a little, like everybody else was a little distrustful, and then even Jen was like, "Well, it's not you, future you." But now it's planting the seed of self-doubt. And I mean, I know we're heading into like the last 6 episodes of the season, so now they got to ramp up the story finally. It does. It just feels like we know what's going on. You don't have to explain every single thing to us. I don't know. Maybe they just think that the audience is a lot dumber than they are. I don't know. I don't know.
No, but even so, they could have gone on the assumption that a future version of you, Ian, is going to leap. Because we know it's not you, you're here.
Right.
And we know you didn't because Ben was the first one to use this new accelerator. So, that part was poorly handled. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Like I said, I see where they're going with everything, because they're trying to parallel the story. But so I don't know. Maybe that's on the story editor. I feel like maybe don't throw this, because you had to resolve that. You couldn't leave us hanging at the end of the last episode. It was such a big deal. Like, you had to deal with that. And I just, like, now I feel like that kind of took away a little bit from the leap for me. Because otherwise, other than the complaints I had, this was a really good episode that I wanted to like more.
Right.
So
I don't think that took away from the leap from me. Maybe I'm compartmentalizing the project stuff from the leap stuff more, and not really try to connect them. so it didn't ruin the Leap story for me. But you're right. They did seem a little like they hadn't thought it through. They're just like, Ian, did you leap?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something I hadn't thought about. But once you brought it up, I realized, that. Well, I mean, I did think about it at the time. I just didn't make a note of it, so it was kind of a throwaway.
Well, all right. Well, enough negatives though. I was going to throw that out there. I wanted to make sure that was like that's kind of like the main thing I was bringing up. But
right.
But we did find out about Ian's ex-partner, Rachel, and I did like that scene. I like the character development there.
Mm-hmm.
But we haven't really found out much about Ian up until this point.
That's true. Yeah. Even though they were revealing some about their childhood in the previous episode,
right.
This was more about the current Ian. It took me a while to figure out where I knew Rachel from too. The actor was in a couple seasons of Orange is the New Black. That's where I recognized her from.
Oh yeah, I think I saw that. We stopped watching at some point. I think it was after we watched. I feel like I've seen her before anyway, but I don't think that we got up to that point. It was like the last couple of seasons, I think, and we stopped
that's
watching.
right. Yeah.
Alice Kremmelberg is her name, and
that's right.
Yes, she is the real life partner of Mason Alexander Park. They are partners in real life.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's cool.
They are partners in real life, so
okay,
that's kind of why it seemed to work.
Yeah.
I found that out through the podcast. You're like, oh, that's interesting. That's really great that you.
Well, it's not the first time we've had that, right? We had a husband and wife.
That was
actor team earlier in the season.
Yeah, Justin Hartley and Sophia Pernas, and I keep forgetting the name of the episode. That bounty hunter thing.
Oh, right.
I keep forgetting the name of the episode. It's a decent proposal. That was it. A decent proposal. Episode.
Yes,
4,
a decent proposal. Yeah.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, they were in that. I think I'll just say that I think my favorite part of the episode, I think it's probably everyone's favorite part, is right at the end with when he's talking to his mother.
Yeah.
Like that got me. That was with her talking about like she's finally given in and she's like, I like nobody needs me anymore. And I'm like, oh, I felt it in my heart. And I'm thinking like on two angles. I'm thinking about how my mom was toward the end when my mom got sick, and it was like this kind of feeling like she could finally I don't even want to get into that too, but it was just like, I think that's part of like why my mom, like she got sick, and she just like, she always said that like that, because of my brothers, that she's like, oh, I have to be here, because she didn't trust anybody else to handle things the way she would. And I think after I lost my brother, one of my brothers, and it was like, and then my sister moved to Australia. We moved here to Florida, and I think it was like at the point where she was just like, I can go now. Like she was tired, and it was all this stuff. And I'm thinking on that end, like, oh, but then I'm just also thinking of how it will be with my son. And I'm like, I probably would feel the same way. Like if he gets older, and I'm like, and then I'll feel like, oh, am I going to be needed anymore? And I love that Ben said, like, you're always going to be needed.
Yeah.
We'll always need you. I did. I was like, damn it, I'm crying. That was a real powerful moment there. And even just leading into that where Ben was like, because she's like, well, I think you did everything you need to do. I'm like, I'm not done yet. There's one more thing I got to do. I'm like, that's Quantum Leap.
Yes. That
was a Sam moment. I'm like,
absolutely.
You feel like you just know you're not done yet.
Yeah.
That was a really great moment there. I know there's like other things related to that are, I just can't think about it right now, but I want to go into more detail with the episode, but I think we kind of covered the gist of it, I think.
Yeah. I think so too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, so overall, I do think it was a good, I feel like it wasn't as great as it could have been because of the things I mentioned. But other than that, I think it was good, and
yeah, it was still a solid episode.
Yeah,
You know, I'd say in the upper ranks for me, anyhow, for the season.
Yeah, and it made me hungry too. I was like,
yeah, I know, right? Yes. I do love how Ben kept like sampling, and he'd turn around and he's got something in his mouth.
Yeah, like, stop eating the inventory.
Yeah, it did make me crave some Indian food. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. You notice they had the nose ring too.
Yes,
he had the nose ring, and
yeah.
Some people are saying it's like, why would he have a nose ring? I mean, Sam would wear earrings, didn't he? Some people said he used to have clip-on earrings, but like he did have earrings, right?
Well,
I mean,
when he would leap into somebody, he would take on all of their clothing and jewelry and
because it's not
glasses,
I know it's not part,
everything.
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not part of your body, but it's like an accessory. So yeah. I didn't think it was odd. But it was interesting because we never saw that before. So
true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Never a nose ring. No.
Yeah. All right. So I guess that's about it. The next episode is SOS, and so I don't want to say anything about it because you don't know about any previews or descriptions or anything. So I
just saw the teaser for the next episode, but
I want to keep you in the dark about some things about it because I think it's going to be a very super episode. It's going to be
okay.
Really
all right.
It's going to be super. Man, is it going to be super? I'm feeling a little something from what I heard too. I thought that was cute, but in several ways, I think it's going to be really good. So
all right.
So I mean, it's a great leap out too. He's on a battleship.
Yeah.
Man, that's pretty cool. I liked it. I think the only thing I'll mention about it is that it's supposed to be, I think, the late 80s, 1989.
Okay, I was guessing it looked like the Persian Gulf, but
I don't know exactly, but I know it's supposed to be, I think, 1989. So this kind of breaks the pattern of what I was saying. Backward, forward.
Oh, back and forth. Yeah. Well, that was one thing I don't think we mentioned earlier was 2009. It's only 3 years before the previous leap. So
yeah.
It was backward, but not very far. Yeah.
And it was brought up too that it might be because they even acknowledged me because I've been talking in the groups about how that was my theory, and like this doesn't necessarily break your theory because this could be. We're approaching the end where now the slingshot could be going like boop 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 before it goes.
Oh like yeah, okay, yeah.
Well, I'm in reverse, but you know what I mean. I mean, I think it's pretty. It seems pretty like he's got to be going into the future in the finale. Mm-hmm. So I can't imagine that they've been setting this all up and that's not what's happening.
Right.
So. I do have some theories as to where I think everything's going, but maybe I'll save that for other videos in the coming weeks. We'll see what happens.
Sure.
But all right, so that was our review of Family Style. I guess we'll talk next week about SOS, and hopefully we'll get Ryan.
See you then.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.
Bye.